David Wasilewski. I'm the Albert P. Vera Professor of Business Ethics at Duquesne University and Executive Director of the Vera Institute for Business Ethics, The Vibe. And we welcome you to our podcast series, which is entitled Ethics Vibes. So we're trying to put the fun back into ethics. And one of our series, which we start here today, is on destructive entrepreneurship. And I will turn it over to my friend and colleague, Peter, to introduce himself and our guest.
Thanks, guys. My name is Peter Genotis. I am the Murray Gillian Entrepreneurship Fellow at the Business School. And the part of this Vibe series, we're trying to integrate concepts of entrepreneurship with business ethics. So we are creating a series where we interview local entrepreneurs, startups. Our first in this series is Nolan Sulpizio, who is the founder of Clean Plate. And just as an intro, here's Nolan, and he'll tell you about himself and his business.
Yeah, so I'm Nolan Sulpizio, like you said, founder and CEO of Clean Plate Innovations. Started it back in February and legally incorporated it in May, so it's been a fast and quick journey so far. Besides that, though, I graduated from Duquesne with supply chain, entrepreneurship, and digital marketing. But I'm from the other side of the state. I'm a South Philly guy, born and raised, go Birds, Super Bowl champions. Can't believe it.
No,
So.
how did, that starts us off in the right foot right there. How did you get the idea for Clean Plate?
Yeah, so it was actually a godsend, honestly. It was one of those eureka moments that usually you think is how it usually happens, but it really never happens like that. It was a Tuesday night in my entrepreneurship capstone class with Mark DeSantis on the fourth floor in that entrepreneurship room. And we're sitting there doing what entrepreneurs do. We think of problems, not solutions. So we were listing a lot of problems out there today in the world that we see. And one of my friends said food waste. And I said, oh, you know what? That is massive, and everybody cares about that. Like, that's a great thing. So from that moment at the beginning of the class when he said it, everybody kept kind of thinking, and I hyper-fixated on that one thing. And from the rest of the time, I started, playing with the idea of what you could do with food waste. And then I started thinking back to freshman year, being at Duquesne at Hogan, how much waste myself created and seeing all my friends do it. And we were openly aware of our waste and saying, this is bad and stuff needs to change, but nothing was happening. So I knew there was had to be some kind of potential, at least that was my assumption in the moment. So from that night, I went, and I just so happened to be voluntold to go to Techstars Startup Weekend by Stacy Offit, which was another blessing in itself that I didn't realize I needed. And so I had that event Friday. So I was already kind of in the mindset I knew I needed an idea to go into this competition with. So again, Tuesday happened. That whole time from Tuesday to Friday, I was kind of playing off of the Duolingo model where it's gamifying stuff. So I was thinking of, students would take pictures of their plate and they could get, signed dining bucks or something based off of that. And I played on that idea. I went to Techstars Startup Weekend. That was the first thing I pitched in my 30-second one. It's all been just amazing luck and hard work, but a good fit timing and falling into place. Techstars Startup Weekend the Friday, there was about 60 people. Everybody pitched a 30-second idea. I thankfully was chosen out of those to be one of the teams to then continue on. And if it wasn't for that, that would have been, probably the end of Clean Plate, because at that point I was just doing it for fun. And then I created from Friday to Saturday evening the gamified model. And a really now good friend, Max Pollock from Innovate PGH, I think it is, he was a mentor, and he came through and said, great idea, great product, but you have no customer. This isn't a business, this is just something cool. And I was like, damn, I can't do anything with this now. So I told my team, I'm gonna go home, everybody take a night off, I just need to go think. And I went home, I put together, all of my things that I like, my backgrounds, my interests. I love problem solving, I love systems, I love data. That's why I'm a supply chain major. So I took it from the approach of supply chain and business to business, and I know that's definitely always usually a bigger opportunity and easier sometimes than going into the consumer market. So I came up with what is now Clean Plate Innovations Saturday night, and I went back and I brought it to my team and I told them what we're gonna do, and everybody fell in line and we started executing. We redrafted our entire business plan. We redrafted an entire pitch that we never ran before, ran it one time, ran on stage 5 minutes late, and then pitched it and came in second place and won. And from that, we got 6 months free office space at Avenue. And that was honestly the true catalyst. It was the fire under my butt that made me, sink or swim. It was like, okay, I'm at this right here. I'm sitting at a desk. Nothing's on it. What do I do? How do I do it? Where do I go from there?
Right.
And that was the biggest motivator, rather than, oh, cool, I won this weekend. Now I'm back home and I'm in school and that's it. It gave me, a place and a purpose. So from there, it has just been, again, a whirlwind and a journey, and it's been amazing.
So exciting.
Yeah.
So it is exciting, but it begs the question. One of the things that that has been talked about, both in the popular press as well as in academia, is this notion of entrepreneurship has positive impacts on society, but there are or could be negative impacts.
Mm-hmm.
So as you start doing this whirlwind tour, how do you kind of think about the stakeholders involved and what your business may impact them,
Yeah.
both in a positive way and a negative way? How do you kind of frame that and think about that?
Yeah, so it's actually a perfect timing for that question, because we have just kind of gone into new uncharted territories with the negative side of entrepreneurship that I never was aware about, especially growing up with, a sustainability aspect and everything. I was like, oh, it's sustainable. People are going to love this. What is there to hate? We started talking to one university in particular, and they brought up the great point of what are your AI emissions? How much are you polluting compared to what you're saving? And I never thought of that. I was like, oh my, that is a great thing. And I did research, I talked to my tech team, and they informed me, I didn't even know this was a trend, that big LLM models like ChatGPT and Claude and stuff are pulling so much power for them that they are polluting a lot, and that's become a known thing now in some people in some of these sustainability places. So that was something I wasn't aware of, is that this innovation is actually, just like the coal industry or some of these, other kind of, the industrialization in the early 1800s and 1900s. Like, it's the same thing but digital now. But there's still a tangible footprint from it that we have to be aware of and we have to calculate. So we just launched now an initiative to track all of that stuff, to gather our carbon footprint, to make sure we're working with proper partners. So we're working with Azure for our data platform, and they've been carbon neutral since 2012. So we're going to make sure we start doing stuff like that and really practice what we preach.
That's wonderful. So the idea for this series within the ethics vibes, it comes out of a project that Peter and I are working on the destructive side of entrepreneurship. So we sort of examine how people with the best intentions, just sometimes have moral blind spots on it. They don't really think about those unintended consequences of a new venture.
100%.
Even if it's designed to help people like yours,
Yeah.
is it going to hurt any other stakeholders? So sort of to build on that, how does societal impact of your company actually affect your decision-making and your behavior overall? And how big's your team?
Yeah, so we're ever growing. We're about 14 guys right now, so that's awesome. But yeah, I think we're about to add 1 or 2 more people. So yeah, we have about 14 people.
So you gave us a glimpse of how you're thinking about societal impact, but how do you get the rest of your team to have that affect their behavior too? Yeah,
so we took, since day one of starting this company, I was very fortunate. My father started his own construction company, so I've got to grow up in a different facet of being able to see scale and growth and how to lead and how not to lead, honestly. I've seen a lot of mistakes through him. He was learning, not, hating on him, but we all mess up. So what I did was, one of the first things we did was set our mission, vision, and values. And we didn't worry about the product. We didn't worry about the technical features. And this is something that we've realized how beneficial that was from the start and how compounding it was over time. We didn't realize what we were doing. We thought we were doing it right. We didn't know how much of a difference it made until we joined Alpha Lab Gear, where we're seeing all these technical founders who don't necessarily have a business. and you can have a product, but it's the people that makes the business.
Right.
So if we have the people, we educate our people properly, that is the value prop in itself. So we do bi-weekly company meetings on Wednesday nights where I gather the whole team together, and the first thing we do is reiterate our mission and vision every time. So I make it a principle to continue to talk about this stuff.
Excellent. So you've talked about one tough decision about thinking about AI and its carbon footprint, trying to use partners that are carbon neutral. Can you envision, going back to the notion of scale, down the road tough decisions that you think you might have to make with respect to societal impact?
Yes, 1,000%. So we have weekly executive meetings too with my leadership team. And when it's not crazy hectic times, we like to start out with reviewing a case study. So we usually do that, and the most recent one we did was of Apple and the when FBI tried to see if they would open up their data for like a terrorist attack, and we had to sit there and we this was probably 2 or 3 months ago when we were an infant. I wouldn't even consider ourselves like a baby. So and we still sat there and we had this discussion. If something like this were to happen at scale, how will we handle it? So we're already running these mental reps to kind of practice it before it even happens. So hopefully when the time comes, it's reaction, not learning and processing, and we can just do it. So that answers your question.
No, that's really fascinating because, again, as David noted, he and I do research and we think of what we're trying to tap into is how these entrepreneurs, whether at the kind of nascent stage like you or further along the line, how they either think about these things or pivot around kind of decisions that may have negative impacts on society. Go ahead, David.
You touched upon it, but have you made a decision that surprised you, that it had some unintended consequences to maybe a particular stakeholder group or just to the company itself? Yeah,
a very very surprising one actually. We had to move away from saying waste, believe it or not,
really?
Because it was a bad perception. Some people thought we were attacking them. Some people thought we were trying to point out their wrongdoings. Some people thought the waste would go away eventually and then it wouldn't be worth it. So that's one kind of thing I wasn't expecting, where you would think, the core product is to reduce waste and optimize operations and performance.
Right.
So why would you be afraid of saying waste? So that was a decision I had to make with my team and reiterate with them going forward. It is food streams, and it is consumer behavior and those kind of concepts, and we're just reframing it. We're not changing the product at all. It's going to be the same exact thing. We just have to reposition it, and that was something I wasn't expecting when I first started doing customer discovery and reaching out to potential clients and stuff. Was a backlash on using waste, which I thought would have been sustainable or a friendly term and stuff. So yeah.
So quick follow up to that, and I'm going to frame it in both a positive and negative. Nolan, think about a behavior within your stakeholder group, maybe customer, supplier, however, that you think will be difficult to kind of flip, to in essence enhance your business, but also have a better impact on society, and maybe a behavior that will be more easily changed to kind of enhance your business and society overall.
Yeah.
What are what's the one kind of tough barrier
Yeah.
versus one that is low-hanging fruit?
Yeah, so the low-hanging fruit is the niche that we're attacking, which is the front end side. So that's why we're going into that. When eventually we'll try and go into the back end,
So help us with the front end, just for our group.
Sorry,
a little more explanation.
Yeah,
of what you
so
mean by
we're
front end versus-
focusing on plate waste specifically, not the back end production side where the kitchen is happening. So we're away from the food production, which makes it easier for regulations, a whole lot of other stuff too. So we're focusing on an area that hasn't been touched on yet. That is the low-hanging fruit for us. That's what we thought was going to be the easiest. But to talk about some of the barriers, we go in. There was privacy concerns that we didn't realize was going to happen. You say computer vision, people think Big Brother. So there's some of that kind of stuff that we have had to navigate and deal with. If that answers.
And another quick follow-up, if you don't mind, David, is when you engage the partners, is there a pent-up kind of demand for this type of solution? Or how do the partners kind of view you as you kind of mentioned it as a, maybe as a threat, but where are they in terms of the process?
Yeah, so it's been way easier than I thought, honestly, for getting like motivation and internal champions in these places.
Okay.
A lot of these places have public proclaimed and they're acting on sustainability initiatives that we can capitalize on and be like, you are publicly saying this, so are you believing it or not? And you kind of play their hand at that. And
do you turn some away if they don't really believe it, if they don't align with your values?
we haven't fortunately had to do that yet. Everybody has been very, very sustainability forward, and our internal champions, we found the best way is going to the sustainability directors and going to that, and they push it through the chain of command and kind of form the meetings and help us out. So they are the ones voicing it, because it's at the end of the day, they're trying to do, it's what is incentivizing to them. They're trying to improve and show their boss that they're doing good and finding new stuff. So we're going to be that new thing that you can go show your boss and be like, oh, here, We're that's kind of how we've been trying to play it. And then really we just need to lock in, which we just have. I can't announce it yet, but we just locked in a very massive player. And then we'll be good from there, because all we needed was a real world testing point to validate and prove it. And it'll be selling ice to an Eskimo, hopefully. So
Tremendous. Got any other questions, or we got, because we're getting close.
One more question here for you.
Before we wrap up. Great.
This is sort of an anti-entrepreneurial sort of approach here. But are you ever afraid of growing too big, where you're not going to be able to maintain your mission and vision and values, where it's going to get out of control?
I might not be the right guy to ask that.
He's an aspirational guy.
I'm an empire building.
A good empire.
Yes,
Benevolent
yeah.
empire.
I will try my hardest to always do that, but my goal is to eventually be a publicly traded company where you never know what's fully going on. You know what I mean? So I can always say it, but it would be out of bad faith to be like, no proper corporation isn't greenwashing, in my opinion. That might be a bold claim, but most corporations, have something going on. So
we see it all the time.
Right,
Greenwashing, you
agreed.
see it in social responsibility too. I call it window dressing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do see it all the time, but it sounds like you're taking every precaution not to.
Yeah.
So I admire you for that.
That's been a big point. I have always been worried about white collar crime specifically too, so that's been a big thing to keep me straight and narrow. Like, just heard horror stories and stuff. I don't want to mess with it, and I want to play the game right. And from my father, it costs less to do it right the first time is his slogan. And good customers bring good customers, and you do good work. And he kind of instilled these ethics in me as the way he ran his construction company, and not like some of the other ones that did hack jobs and cheap work, and you ran it right and you did it right and you respected your work. And even if they're not going to see it, you're still putting all the labels the right way and you're still doing everything. So that's kind of how I was growing up. So I will always do that. It's just instilled in me, but in action, in theory, who knows? And when it's a Fortune 500 company, but.
Well, it's another reason to admire you.
Yeah,
An
it's
innovator,
great. You
creative
are our first guest, so we appreciate your time and effort.
Yeah, thank you guys.
But
and that was a great message to our viewers and
exactly.
listeners too, for starting their own to try to avoid the destructive side.
Yeah,
So thank
agreed.
you.
Yeah,
you've
definitely.
put in some interesting processes.
Mm-hmm.
So just a quick wrap up. This was our first in hopefully a mini series of podcasts around the intersection of ethics and entrepreneurship. Our next guest will be Dan Fuchik, who is the Chief Scientific Officer at Algen Air. They are an air quality business that, like Nolan, had been in Innovation Works and have kind of progressed from there. So Dan will, again, answer similar questions that Nolan answered about kind of the state or intersection of ethics and entrepreneurship. Thanks. We appreciate your time. David, any last word?
Thank you for your time, and keep filling those ethics vibes.
Right. Very good.
Until next time.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.